Hi friends, in this tutorial I'm going to be creating, actually this is going to be a multiple part series. The first one I'm just going to be explaining the client server concept, how it works, and when we reach the end of the series or this mini series, I will be creating multiple parts or multiple different kinds of client server in Python, in which you can receive an input from the client, and what the server will do is that it will echo it back to the client. What it receives the server, it will just send it back to the client. So this is going to be a multiple part. In the first part I'm just going to be explaining the basics or using the Python interpreter, or how what each command does and how it works. So in here, this is my Python, this is, sorry, my Kali machine, and this I will be running. So this is ipconfig. I have an IP address of 10.0.0.1. So let's get started. So the first thing that we will be doing is to importing the socket module. So this is the module that we require to build sockets. So what basically is, in simple words, a socket is that it creates a connection. So whenever you're connecting to a server, let's say the google.com or the yahoo.com, whatever, it creates a socket. So this is the socket, as identifies the IP address and the port number with which you're connecting to that server. So in this case, we are going to be creating a TCP socket. So let's name it TCP socket. We can name it whatever we want, and then we use the socket method of the socket module, and then we are saying use the socket dot so af underscore inet, and then socket dot sock underscore stream. So what it does in here, it says that create a variable on an object called TCP socket, use the socket module, and use the socket function or socket method of this module. And what this socket.af underscore inet it does is that it says use the IP addressing, which we use to connect to different machines, which is what it's like basically IP, how internet works mostly. This socket.sock underscore stream, what it means is that it says use TCP. So this line together, it kind of means like use TCP IP. So instead in here, instead of using sock stream, we could have also used datagram for UDP, but for this example I'm creating TCP. It's kind of more reliable. So what we do after this is that we are saying bind it. So this socket that you are creating in here, that we have created this TCP socket dot bind. So let me type in all of this. Once I finish it, I will explain all this. So what it means in here is that so this TCP socket is the variable or the object that holds all this functionality. And what it does is that we are now using the bind method, or the bind call, the bind function of the TCP socket. And what it does is that it says 000. What this 4 zeros means, it's like a wildcard character. It says listen on all ports. Instead of typing 00, we can also type this 10.0.0.1, which is the IP address of this machine, the internet interface. So we can type that also, but this, what 00 means is that it says listen on all interfaces. So it can listen if you have Wi-Fi interfaces or some other interfaces. What this 00 means is that listen to all of them. And this, what this 1 2 3 0 4 5 means is that it is the port number. It says listen on port number 1 2 3 4 5. So this is bind it. So bind this port and this IP address. So what it does in here is that now it will be listening on all interfaces on port number 1 2 3 4 5. And after that, what we do is that we are saying we can also use this TCP socket dot listen like 5. So what it means is that you can listen up to 5 machines, or you can listen up to 5 connections simultaneously at like how many clients it can connect. So it's automatically 5. In the next few tutorials I will be creating some things like multi-threading, multiprocessing, and these things, so you can have this functionality of multiple connections, clients connecting to you. So as I mentioned previously, it's going to be a multiple part series. This is just the beginner stuff, how it works, what each command work. In the next few tutorials I will be putting in more functionality to this script and make it more advanced. So This line, I hope you understand what this is like. Listen, up to 5 clients, 5 computers can connect to this machine. And next what we do is that in here, so this is a tuple, and we call this tuple client, the first one, the first element of it. And then we are saying IP address and then port number. Let me just finish typing it and then I will explain it. TCP socket dot accept. So in here what it says is that this is the same TCP socket, the variable or the object that we created previously. It is using the accept call or the accept function. So what it does currently is that it keeps on listening. It keeps on listening. It says that accept whatever you receive from the other side, and the accept, this function call, it has basically receives kind of information or in a tuple form. So the first element is a client, which is a client is that what this client is an object or a socket object which identifies the remote machine. And what this IP address, it is that it stores the IP address of the remote machine that will be connecting to it, and the port number, it is the port number of the remote machine or that will be connecting to it. So the first element of the tuple is client. This IP address and port, it is the second element of the tuple, which again has 2 ports, in this case IP address and port number. So I will explain it just once I connect to it. You can it's very easy to understand. So in here, this is my Windows 10 machine. So let's open up ipconfig. So in here we can see that I have the IP address of 10.0.0.105. So I have what I have in here is CD documents, dir cd netcat. So in here I have a netcat. So I will be using netcat to connect to my Python server that I've created previously. And so what it does, this line, is that it's using netcat to connect to 10.0.0.1 on port number 12345. So once we do it, so you can see that it is currently listening, but it's not doing anything. So you can see that we still this cursor is blinking. We haven't received anything yet. So what this accept call does is that it keeps on listening. Keeps on listening until we get a connection. So why am I not getting a connection in here? Netcat, let's me ping it. Do you have connectivity to it? Oh, sorry, yeah, it's not 1, it's 101. So 1 2 3 4 5. So in here you can see that still you are not receiving anything, but once we connect to it, you can see that it works. We get our cursor back. So in here, bad parameter 1 2, sorry, what am I, nc.exe. So in here you can see that I'm using netcat and I'm connecting to this IP address of 10.0.0.1, which is my Python server that I'm running, and this is the port number which we created, 1 2 3 4 5. So in here you can see that this we said listen on all ports and listen on all interfaces and listen on port 1 2 3 4 5. So now you can see that we get our prompt back. So in here, if we type in client, so this is the client object. It uses the socket object, or it says that the family is address family is af.net. So it's like the using IP family. Sock _sock stream, it is using TCP. The local address is 10.0.0.1. It is the IP address of this current machine, and it is listening on port number 1 2 3 4 5. The IP address, this is the remote address. It's the address of the machine, Windows 10 machine that connected to it, and this is the port number that Windows 10 machine is using, which in this case is 49,680. We can also identify this information by using this the IP addresses of IP address and also port number. So you can see that the IP address identifies the IP address of the remote machine, and the port number identifies the port number. This, you can see these two, you can find it in here. The object, the socket object, holds this information as well. So this is the IP address of the Windows 10 machine, and this is the IP address of the sorry, this is the port number of the Windows 10 machine that it has used to connect to it. So this is it for this tutorial. It's getting kind of long. In the next one I will be explaining how to send and receive data from the local machine or from the remote machine, and how to receive it, and how to send the data that you're receiving, or how to send your own data. So this is it for this tutorial, guys. If you have any questions, any suggestions, recommendations, feel free to put it in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one.